What's good, y'all? Elvis here. So, I think I have a problem. So, I originally picked up clippers in middle school. Didn't really take it serious till I got to college. But since college, I've been seriously cutting hair for 8 years. The whole elapsed time from me picking up clippers till now, I don't really count. After about 8 years of cutting hair almost every day, literally almost every day, I think I might have a problem. The title of this video is I'm addicted to cutting hair, and it's kind of a joke. I've been throwing it around as a joke just for a while because working is usually my favorite thing to do. Because, I'm also blessed where my work tends to look like play to a lot of people. Even though it's a significant amount more work than, let's say, if I had a job and I was just working through these hours and I had these set responsibilities or whatever, it looks and feels a lot more like play because everything I do is something that creatively or spiritually sparks me. I don't feel like I have to drudge through my schedule most of the time. Like 99% of the time. So for a long time, I've been looking at it through a lens of this is all fun. You know what I mean? To a certain degree, it is. About a few weeks ago, I was posting really consistently on YouTube. And I told everybody, I was like, oh, bro, I'm gonna post every day till this shit blow. I was doing that. I was on the schedule for that. I was ahead of schedule for it. And then I burnt myself out. And then I realized, bro, how much do I even want to do this? And I realized how anxious I was doing the work. Like, let's say editing. I'd have videos queued up for like a day or two. And I can crank out max probably like 5 YouTube videos a day. This is what I really wanted to do and like spend all my time doing. But I realized I don't really want to make YouTube a job that much. After like the last 2 years of learning, content and just streamlining my whole production process, it's super simple. But I was paying attention to how I was feeling about a week and some change ago, like while I was editing. Usually editing and content is stuff I do when I'm just kind of chilling. I got some free time. Like I don't allocate a whole bunch of time for this. While I was editing and when I was done with projects, I could feel the stress in my chest. It wouldn't leave after I was done with a project. It would just carry over to the next thing. And I realized like, I'm just putting a bunch of anxious energy into this work. That's what I'm doing right now. While my plan was to do a whole bunch of editing that week and whatever, I knew it started getting out of hand when I would spend basically the whole day cutting hair and then editing in between appointments. I'm talking about every little gap I had, I was editing. And then I'd get home and then I'd want to edit some more. When it comes to my relationship with work, while the work that I do blesses me in a lot of ways, I tend to use work as an escape from my problems. Even way back when I was in between barber school and college and I was deciding what I wanted to do. I dropped out of college because I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. A lot of things were not on my terms. I decided, I'm going to take life by the reins and steer this shit where I want to go. So dropped out of college, pursued barbering full time, completely. Like that was all I was putting my energy towards. Went to barber school, all that. That was great for my development. I needed that, and I needed that season for sure. But I was putting all my energy into cutting hair because that was the only thing I had control over in my life, and I was trying to grow that sovereignty. I was tired of not having any choices outside of when I get to cut somebody's hair. My money wasn't where I wanted to be. There's a lot of people I was around that I didn't want to be around. I didn't have many of the opportunities that I felt like would be good for me. So I decided I was going to go and create all that. And I did that, and that was great. But I've realized that the size of your bag is completely relative. The size of your bag versus your problems is always proportional. What the world calls success really doesn't count. You're fighting the same demons at every dollar amount. Back then in my darkest season, I was being used by a lot of people as a resource. I wasn't being considered. And barber was the only thing I really cared about in my life, for real. Like, not to get dark, but barbering was the main thing keeping me here. But I was looking for reasons to keep living, for real. And barbering allowed me the opportunity to pursue something that gave me creative joy, but then also gave me a certain level of freedom. And that gave me opportunities, and it allowed me to grow within every circumstance that I was dealing with. So for years, I prioritized my business. I was growing. As my business growing, I was growing. It made a lot of great things happen. I could provide certain things for my family, for myself, for my friends. But just like how I said, you fighting the same demons at every dollar amount. I improved my life as far as creating better boundaries for myself, understand myself better. That allowed me to understand the people I was around better. There's still things about myself that I wasn't willing to face, for real. Right now, I'm kind of going through a rough patch. The season kind of rhymes with that previous dark season, but definitely a lot brighter. But I'm learning a lot of the same lessons. Like back then, I had to separate myself and really build up my bag. Not necessarily just money, but as far as spiritually and mentally, emotionally, I had to get myself right before I could pour into anybody else. Then I built myself up. I was strong, could stand on my own 2 feet, could carry some weight, and I was like, okay, well, great, I can carry weight for other people. And that's where I started slipping again. I didn't aspire for that much for myself outside of, I just want options. I want to have the option to be peaceful. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have that before. Life was not on my terms. I had to be pushed into somebody else's mold for anything that I wanted. After I got myself up, I had the means to do damn near everything I wanted to. But then once you learn you can do damn near anything, it's like you're in a place where you're wondering, like, what is worth doing? So I thought, oh, well, I got all the options that I said I wanted, but then I realized I still felt a little empty. I couldn't put a finger on what it was, because I realized I've always felt like that. So it got to a point where I was just spending money on stuff, bro. Like I'm a minimalist. I grew up really poor. Back when I was in college, making $30K a year, cutting hair full time, and also being in barber school and college, like, I was living like a king. I could do anything I wanted to. I could flex on whoever I wanted to, because the things that, I consider a flex are really quality of life flexes. Like driving somewhere and not having to worry about gas, not having to worry about, oh, your car messing up and now your ass out. A flex to me is doing things on your terms. A flex to me is having enough to invest in yourself, invest in your well-being, invest in your wealth consciousness, leveling up yourself physically, but also spiritually and mentally. That's a flex to me. Throwing some bread at this, throwing some bread at that is not that's not what impresses me. I started wanting to be better for me. And then I wanted to share that with the people that were around me. But because there were some things within myself I didn't deal with, or I didn't really look at, what your relationship with yourself is the basis for your relationship with everybody else. Because I'm a person that loves being useful, and I didn't have a lot of boundaries because I feel joy in being useful. I always tried to be the most ideal sibling, the most ideal friend. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not buddy with everybody, but if I call you a friend, I'm trying to pull some weight for you if you need it. You know what I'm saying? Because I have flimsy boundaries, I realize that kind of energy of being useful attracts people that want to use you. A lot of people don't even realize that they only value you as a resource. People will call you on a first or second resort, just thinking like, oh, he has it, he wants to give to me, I'll take it. Not understanding that anything you actually value as a resource, you're not trying to deplete. You want it to be sustainable over time. And that requires not having a parasitic relationship where you're thinking just, oh, what can I get? What can I get? Someone who actually values you as a resource rather than trying to use you as a resource will try to do what they can to keep you plentiful. When you try to help people grow, that just allows them to bear more fruit, and that allows everybody to eat. And that means watering the plant. You know what I'm saying? Like watering the tree. To get fruit from a tree, it's not a one-way relationship. The tree has to be in an environment that nurtures its growth. It has to have the right nutrients. It has to have water. But when it bears fruit, first off, the fruit easily turns into more trees, but then also it feeds people. If you give to the tree gives to you, and then you can continue giving back to each other. But if you're just trying to pick fruit off the bush and pollute the soil, that's going to leave you and the tree in a worse position. My boy Johnny came for a cut the other day, and he really made me look at this like workaholism thing, because I was talking about how busy I was and ripping and running and do this and that. And he said, how long you work today? And I said 12 hours. I was telling him about like the anxiety I had going on with a lot of the work that I'm doing. And see, let me look at the raw facts. Like, I'm doing 12 plus hours work here, then to go home and then do some more work. And I'm way past the point of even enjoying this anymore. I'm feeling stressed because I have these arbitrary deadlines in my head, deadlines that I created, that nobody else has any power over, realistically. It got to a point where when I was talking to him, I realized that I didn't even have a solid reason on why I was working. I was just working to get away from like an anxious feeling. Whenever it's late night and I can't sleep, and I'm thinking about things, like thinking about future things, future endeavors, future problems or whatever, that gives me a lot of antsy energy, and that's what I've been putting into the editing. And it's a productive process, you know what I'm saying? There was a period of time where I just didn't sleep because I told myself, oh, I'm riding this productive high, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting this work done. I was getting a bunch of editing done. But then it got to a point where I was editing and feeling miserable. And then I realized I can't sleep. This is messing up my whole circadian rhythm. It's messing up my eating schedule. I'm not actually getting paid enough. YouTube doesn't pay me yet. I wasn't being paid enough as far as fulfillment in what I was doing anymore. Bro, my whole thing is craft over clout, you know what I'm saying? Internal validation outside of external validation. Like, find out the reason for you, do it for you. That's what matters. It's not what you do, it's how you're doing it. And I realized how I was working was low-key. I realized it was slowly killing me. And I knew this shit really was real when Johnny was like, after you get off work today, bro, leave your computer here, just in my suite. I was thinking like, bro, what? No, bro, keep in mind, I could leave stuff in the suite. You know, it's locked, super scared. But in my gut, I was like, bro, that makes me feel funny. Why does that make me feel funny? Especially because there's some days I'm working, doing a whole lot of work at the suite. Then I go home and I have some shit to do, but I don't do it because I'm doing other things. Like, some days I don't go and use my computer. So I know I don't use my computer every day. Why do I have this resistance to leaving this here? It made me realize that I've always been this anxious my entire life, but I've always just pushed that anxious energy into something. And now it's, I'm putting that into the editing and content and whatnot. At a certain point, it was the most productive way I could spend my time and my energy. But now I'm in a place where working harder doesn't make my life better. It made me realize, like, while this was a useful tool at a certain point, as you evolve, the problems you deal with become different. And they're not necessarily harder problems, but they're different, so you can't use the same tools. You can't use the same tools as you did previously for old problems. You have to level up your skill set. You have to level up your tools. So now I'm in a stage where I'm trying to be really mindful about the work that I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because I'm not going to front. Like, I took maybe like a week or two off, and I feel so much better. I've been more mindful, hanging out with my girl, talking to my bros, you know what I'm saying? Like, getting a lot of perspective. The way I like to deal with my stress is get by myself and grind it out. I grew up with a very little supervision as a child, you know what I'm saying? I was always kind of by myself. So I'm used to coping in my way. When I was a kid, the workaholism was more of an escapism thing through games, bro. I was always playing Pokemon. I was always playing games that just like enveloped me in that world, and I was doing a bunch of work because in my life I needed something to escape the stress in my life. Now my coping strategies are adding stress, and I gotta change that. So now I'm trying to implement new schedules, something that's a lot more sustainable, but also I'm getting to a point where working doesn't make my life better. So I have to learn how to live for real. Now I'm realizing, bro, my entire life I've never had a work-life balance. It's always been a work-work balance. Whatever life you live is going to be full of work, but ideally it's work that's fulfilling and adding to your spirit. So I got to make some changes. So I'm going to try to be more consistent again on YouTube, but I'm thinking, if anything, maybe 2-3 videos a week. And then after I get a routine like that set, I might be doing it more frequent. I have to make certain things a job, as far as, hey, you work on this consistently, because, those are things that grow me. But I don't want anything to be a job in the sense of I feel a slave to it. Like, I feel like I became a slave to the content. Like, that week I was grinding really hard because I wasn't even enjoying it anymore. Like, I like the content that I do. I feel like it's valuable for me. I only say things that I feel like people need to hear, or I need to hear, and then other people think is valuable. Now I cannot afford to neglect myself. For real. I can't afford to neglect myself. And neglecting myself is what attracted a whole bunch of people around me that only have the capacity to neglect me. They say you teach people how to treat you. I think it's debatable, because knowing how to treat you is a prerequisite class. If you have to teach somebody how to treat you, they shouldn't be in your life. But realistically, they learn how to treat you off of the cues on how you treat yourself. If you over leverage yourself for this person, and they don't deserve it, that's going to influence their perception of how they should treat you. And they're going to be around you like, oh, well, he don't think he deserves this level of courtesy. Well, I don't got to give it to him. I see how he treats himself. I'm going to treat him like how he treat him. Self-love is what we reflect outwards. This is kind of a side note, but be careful of the people that really, really love you, because most people, their love of you isn't really like them valuing you, is them undervaluing themselves in comparison to you. But yeah, I'm trying to stop being a workaholic. The video getting kind of long, but I really appreciate y'all watching. I just started the long journey of trying to be a recovering workaholic. And if you can relate to this, I wish you well on your journey, because we all live the same life, low key. All these stages got me going through new changes, but it's all happening for me, not to me. But if y'all got any value, appreciate a like and subscribe, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and follow your boy on Instagram as well as TikTok at Cuts by Elvis, as well as at Better Barbering. If you're interested in any barber game, I got barber courses on my platform, College of Better Barbering, link in the bio. Appreciate it again, but till next time, Craft Double Clout, I'm out.